I don't want to have a cafes category in Korean won and a cafes category in USD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a
I
lot to
just want
manage.
it all to live together. And I want all of our cash assets to be in one place as well, because I don't think of them as split. So all
Right.
of our cash assets that are in Korean won are reconciled and included in USD in my singular plan. So
Okay.
every time I reconcile, I'll actually reconcile to a slightly lower balance than the exchange rate actually tells me, like the app or Google tells me, just so
Okay.
I know that if it fluctuates a little, we've got wiggle room.
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it,
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Well, today, folks, we have a very special guest. Lauren is here, and she's here to talk about categories. We haven't done a categories episode, a good old fashioned go through your categories, talk about your routines. We haven't done it in, gosh, like over 6 months. Not this year, so it's been a little while, and I know you guys love it. So we're here to do it again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first one of the year, and I'm so excited for it. It's going to be so good. So a little bit more about Lauren. Lauren is a support specialist here at YNAB, and she brings a unique perspective to YNABing with multiple currencies. So we're going to walk through Lauren's categories, get all the stories and the details behind those, and then we're going to go through her unusual, maybe unorthodox YNAB routine. So welcome to Budget Nerds, Lauren. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Lauren.
I'm excited to be
And
here.
I didn't even mention you're in South Korea, so it's like what 1 a.m. there right now. It's like
Yes.
noon our time. So
Yep.
thanks for staying up. I think it's pretty common for you, right?
It is. This is normal meeting time for me. I'm excited to hear that I'm like the first category walkthrough of your year. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know.
And I'm really, and yours is really special because you're an expat. So
Yep.
so you're from America, but you live in South Korea. You lived there a long time, right?
Yeah, it's going on 8 years now.
Okay, okay. And you also your partner. Where's your partner from again?
South Africa.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you got like a whole like multinational thing going on here. It's pretty
Exactly.
cool.
Yep, we came
Okay.
from like opposite sides of the globe, wound up in South
Yeah.
Korea.
Came together. It's a beautiful story. I love it. Yeah, what brought you to South Korea?
So I am South Korean. So part of it was that I wanted to connect to my heritage. I wanted to learn more of the language. I had taken a little bit in college and like learned, bits and pieces growing up. My mom was not fluent, so it was all through my grandparents. And
Okay.
so there was that piece, but then I'd also studied education in college, and I wanted to kind of put my foot back in that door. I had taken a few years to work in a nonprofit organization, and wanted to see like, do I want to teach? Is this really what I want to do? Have my own classroom, all of that. So I figured a good way of kind of gently getting into that was teaching English in Korea, and it's a great place to teach English. Pretty nice benefits. They usually provide your housing, and I didn't have to do like the testing and the high stress kind of stuff. I just got to teach classes. And yeah, did that for a few years and then decided it was time for a change. And that's when one of the support specialist positions opened up at YNAB.
Nice. All right. And you just liked being in Korea and stuck around there, huh?
Yep. Yep. Well, so I met my partner here, and we had already kind of put down roots, made some good friends in the area. And then COVID happened, and it just didn't
Right.
make sense to either of us to moving to my family or moving to his family. It didn't. We were in a good spot. Our jobs were secure, and we were actually in a pretty rural area of Korea. Now we live in Seoul, so that might have been a different picture if this had been where we were during the pandemic. But at that point,
Right.
we were like in a pretty rural city, and it wasn't like, it honestly didn't feel like a big deal. It was scarier hearing the news coming from home.
Right.
Both of us trying to keep in touch with family. But here we were kind of sitting pretty.
It was like, yeah, it feels kind of safe right here
Yeah.
out in the country in Korea. And yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to point out, I think it's really funny where you're like, I thought, it'd be fun to try out teaching. And just like have a soft launch into teaching. So I moved to a foreign country and just started teaching there. But I guess it really is because, sounds like it's a really friendly environment for you when you came.
Yeah. Yeah. And teaching in rural schools too, it was really fun because I had really small class sizes. So I got to know the kids really well. I was forced to learn Korean because we couldn't
Right.
communicate otherwise.
I'm sure you know it quite well now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, since starting at YNAB, my Korean level's kind of gone downhill just because I'm not using
Right.
it daily anymore.
Because you're speaking English all the time.
Yeah,
now.
all my work is in English now. So that's
Yeah,
like a
that's
tiny
crazy.
downside, but it's
But
still a
you
great
get to
place to live.
connect to your heritage and your family and all that. And that's really special.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so where does YNAB, the app, come into the mix?
Yeah.
Was that before you were hired here? After?
It was well before.
Okay.
Well before.
Okay.
Yeah. So my parents were actually the ones who introduced me to YNAB. And
Whoa.
I think at the time it was YNAB 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a long time
Yeah.
YNABer. And I remember emailing in because I had like just paid for YNAB 4 on my own or something like that when the switch to Evergreen happened, like when we went web-based and everything like was really smooth. They were like, oh yeah, we'll refund you. Or I think they gave me a discount on switching to the web-based version or something like that. And ever since then, I've been using it. So that was college. And I think there was one year in particular, my super senior year, where I was student teaching. And that whole semester, I was just putting money on zero interest credit cards. And I had to have something to manage that because I wasn't
Right.
making any income, but I needed a plan. So YNAB was pretty key.
Okay. I know we brought you on the show to talk about multiple currencies, but this situation using YNAB with no income, that's fascinating. So that's a whole different episode. But maybe we have to book you for a second session.
That would be great. Well, I mean, you guys know I'm on the credit cards and debt features
Yeah.
team here.
This is something we've been talking about a lot, actually, where you're like having
Yeah.
to use YNAB while relying on credit card debt, and how do we handle that?
Yeah, it's close to my heart. So
Yeah, 'cause
always
you
happy to
dealt
talk
with that.
about it.
Okay, so that's the situation that brought you in, super senior year, no income, just using the credit cards. What made you stick around?
So I think I had actually started using YNAB before that super senior year, just managing like the little bit of
Okay.
campus jobs income that I had. And then that super senior year, it was really key. But then afterwards, once I started making income and figuring out moving back in with my parents, where I was going to live, what I wanted to do next, I couldn't, it was a tool I couldn't do without at that point. I was like, there's no
Totally.
way I'm going into this with no plan and no intentions behind what I'm doing with all this new money. I suddenly feel like more flush with cash than I ever had in my life. So
Right.
it's been so long now that it's hard to remember, but like there's bits and pieces that stand out, like the feeling of, oh, I finally paid off that zero interest credit card before any interest started happening. The spreadsheet that I showed my dad to like convince him to let me go to out of state college. That's a story that he will tell. So
that.
planning has, I think, long been a part of like who I am and what's important to me, and that intentionality that YNAB gives my spending is one of the biggest things for me. Is like being able to it calms my anxiety to be able to know that all my dollars have a job, and it helps me just like get through any decision-making processes that I have to make. It's like the money piece is easier, and I can make the other decisions that are related to, like moving or changing jobs, like I did when I was unemployed for a few months while I was applying to the YNAB position. So it's always been helpful in those kind of major decisions.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, let's get into your categories. This is what
let's do it.
what people came for. So now you've been a YNABer 10 plus years, maybe closer to 15. So like that, I'm sure the categories look a lot different now. And you've had a lot of life changes as well.
Yeah.
But have they all been contained in one plan, or have you made fresh starts along the way here?
This is actually something I was going to bring up. I don't think I even made a fresh start when my partner and I merged finances.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you have the one.
So my plan, I
thing.
think, was started in around 2015 or 2016.
This is great.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy cow.
I mean,
okay.
the categories have definitely shifted and changed, and like we obviously had to like add accounts and things like that. But the general structure, I mean, you're gonna see the old.
Even when
old
you brought in a new
terminology.
currency and everything, you still kept the same plan the whole time. That's
Pretty much.
awesome.
Pretty much.
I love that. I love that.
All right.
Okay. And we will get into the multi-currency thing because I'm super intrigued by that because we have like an official way to
Yes.
teach people, but you have some tricky, sneaky power user stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all that nerdiness. But yeah, let's just go into your categories.
All right,
first.
off the top of your head, do you know how many groups, how many categories you have in total?
I actually don't. No.
So it looks like about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, okay, 10. There's 10, maybe 15 groups.
Okay.
So
Oh, is it really?
Okay.
One, two,
Because
three, four.
I know that there are a couple that sometimes are hidden.
yeah.
So like I have a wild traveling group. We'll go through the list, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Start at the top.
Yeah, you don't use all those all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, let's just start at the
And I
top.
guess
Let's
anyone
just do it.
who's watching at home, they can tally them up and tell us in the comments the total categories and total groups.
Yep. All right. So starting from the top, we have monthly bills. And really these are the most static bills. Like the utilities varies a little, but it's just rent, phones and internet and utilities. Phones and internet are combined because they're the same contract for us.
Okay.
They're, the same telecom company. So that just makes sense for us. And then we've got everyday expenses, which are the more variable but frequent spending. So public transportation, groceries, food and groceries, home, miscellaneous.
What's the difference?
And clothing.
Walk us through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So food is basically everything that we use to make meals at home or like snacks, even if we're buying like drinks at the convenience store. Sometimes convenience stores are very convenient in Korea. I don't know if you know, they're like actually
Right.
open
I've heard
24/7.
This is like a big part of the culture, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Convenience store life. So like any kind of food in there. And then home and miscellaneous is the type of stuff that's like paper items, sometimes
okay.
sometimes
Non-food.
toiletries, non-food like toothpaste, all the things that you'll eventually need to replenish, or like little gadgets or organizers. Like I love home organization stuff. So if I'm buying, vacuum seal bags, it's going under there.
Okay, nice. Yeah, because you got a small place, right? Because you're in a big
Yeah.
city, right? You're in Seoul, right?
Yeah. We're like
Okay.
in central Seoul. So it's a pretty great location,
Okay.
but very small apartment. And we now have a cat. So
Oh boy. Okay.
we're thinking of moving, but it's
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So the organization is absolutely vital for you because you're
Oh,
like
yeah.
you got a tight space. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you got two different groceries, and that's what I have too. I got I call it sundries and then groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And do you still separate them out or no?
Nope. One category.
That's right.
No.
Yeah, you never
Nice.
did. You never.
No,
did
I
that,
did.
right?
I did.
You did.
And then I'm just
Okay,
like, I'm
okay.
sick of this. I'm sick of entering the splits. So just all one category, and I love it. No regrets.
Yeah,
Nice.
maybe I should try it. No, I'm not going to try it.
If I didn't
Actually,
love
that would
like
be up to Caitlin. That one, 'cause she runs the grocery budget. So yeah, that would be up to her. I think.
that makes sense. If I didn't love the like Daiso, like dollar store type of companies that they have over here, I think I could maybe group them together. But sometimes I get a little out of control with the home stuff. So I want to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Okay, so you got pretty tight. Like is that all your like what you call everyday expenses?
Yep.
So you got a pretty tight group there. Mm-hmm. And I see y'all don't have a car, right? Because it is in the big city. So
Yeah.
public transportation kind of handles all your day-to-day travel needs, right?
Yeah, we got
Do you
to
ever-
hide the gas category because we did have a car for about a year and a half. I think it was around 2022, 2023. And then or no, 20 2020 and 2021, like during the pandemic, because we didn't want to take public transportation. And we were both teaching in rural schools.
And you were in the rural area then too, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to be able to hide that. Do you ever like get out of the city? Like, do you rent a car or do anything like that? Or what do you do when you need to do that?
Yeah, rent a car, or honestly, intercity transportation here is also really amazing. We've got the KTX, like the super fast trains, and we've got buses that go between all the different cities. So I can go from this end of Korea to the other end to Busan in like less than 3 hours if I want.
That's awesome. So that's so great because I feel like that cuts out like 10 categories, just not having a car by itself.
And it's got to save you money. It's less expensive than owning a car, right? Okay. Yeah. I figured. I love that.
Yeah, and I haven't like talked to people like that about that. Where they're like, oh, well, I want a car so I can like travel. And like in the States, it makes more sense. But like, you know, I feel like if you want to leave if you live in a big city, if you want to leave and travel by car, just rent a car. You know, it's going to be cheaper in the long run. So yeah, I love that.
And we weren't doing like a ton of, intercity travel. Like it's not something that happens a ton. So even those slightly pricier high-speed train tickets, if it's only once a year, we don't want to pay insurance that whole time, or parking.
Yeah,
parking is a huge one.
It doesn't make any sense. I can imagine the parking must be insane. So don't even worry about it. Forget about it.
Forget about it. Yeah. Okay. Then we have semi-annual spending, which I think of as just all the non-monthly stuff that we still want to have chunks of money set aside for because we know they're going to happen. So things like taxes, bank fees, medical and health insurance. Health insurance, I could honestly probably move up to monthly bills, but it's kind of, it is varied over the years with like my changes in career and stuff.
Right.
Software and subscriptions.
Tell me about the health situation in Korea. Like, is it like in the States where you have health insurance, or is there state run things, or how's that work?
It's a national health insurance system. Yeah. So I pay into it, and it means that all of our visits, all of our medications are really cheap. And my sister actually visited.
Situation.
Yep. And my sister actually visited just recently for about a month, and while she was here, got a couple of things. And was amazed at how cheap it was even without insurance. So it was pretty fun to like show her the insight into our life, maybe entice her to visit more often.
Yeah. Okay. But so even though it's single payer and it's like government run, it's not like you pay separately for the health insurance. It's not like taken out of your. Well, I guess it wouldn't be because your job is in the States. So
yeah, my job's in the States.
I was like, it's not taken out of your paycheck. Well, it wouldn't be, would it?
Yeah. Well, while I was teaching, and my partner is also currently teaching English to adults, and those jobs, they will often pull health insurance out of your salary.
Gotcha.
So then it's factored into like taxes and things like that. But yes, because I technically don't have income in Korea, I pay my own.
You pay for it separately. Okay,
got it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm always so curious about that when I talk to people in other countries because it's just it's a big part of life. So it's huge.
Yeah, huge part of life, and we're grateful for it every time it comes up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, software and subscriptions. I mean, this varies a lot. It's one of those categories where I feel like we just have some slush because we never know what's going to come up. Like my partner.
That's actually good. Yeah. I feel like mine's pretty tight, and I can't like. It'd be nice to be able to just like turn things on and off and kind of just be more chill about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because a show comes on and you're like, oh, I don't have an Apple Plus subscription, but it kind of sounds nice to watch that show. We like being able to just pick and choose. Or like my partner recently wanted to use a screen recording software to just put some stuff on YouTube for a game that he plays. So it would be nice to, have, we had funds for it.
Right. So, okay. So you just have like kind of a general amount, like just that and it's kind of slushy, I guess.
Yeah,
and then it's not like, okay, well, we have these 4 subscriptions, so it's this amount.
Yeah. We
like keep it
start,
loosey-goosey.
We start with those ones and then we just kind of add a little on top. And it's, if we want to get technical, it's a set aside another target. So we're just constantly like building up a little bit of a buffer. Up. Yeah.
Boy,
we just add the same amount every month.
Yeah, that gives me some ideas because our subscriptions category is in the monthly section. But I, every April and May, subscribe to Sling so I can watch the NBA playoffs. And then I just roll with the punches in those scenarios. But I could
Yeah.
plan for this. I could just move that to the non-monthly group,
that makes sense.
do the set aside another, and just add an extra like $4 or $5, and I'd be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really great. I love, like, I mean, occasionally, yeah, there's stuff that pops up that we're like, we meant to unsubscribe from this. But
Right.
for the most part, it's pretty hands off.
Well, I think that's a good way to do it, actually. I might talk to Caitlin about that because, yeah, for us, it's like, we think of it as like, oh, we have these subscriptions, but they're changing more often. And I feel like the way, especially with streaming services, it's becoming more of like you turn it off when you're not using it and then turn it back on when you are.
So there's more change happening. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more change happening. I think it might be good to just have like, okay, let's just get a general amount, set aside another, let's just build it up. And then if it ever gets too large, you can just grab some money out of there or change it. So yeah, okay. I'm going to think about that.
All right. I gave the budget nerds ideas.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you go through categories. Like all sorts of cool ideas show up. I love it.
All right. After that, we have document renewals and applications, which is like things like immigration. When we renew our visas or our passports or things like that. So that's just kind of a general build-up buffer kind of category as well.
Do you ever have trouble with that because you're not working in Korea? Like, are they ever like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Weird stuff like that.
Well, so for a few years teaching English, I was on the special visa for that situation. And then
Okay.
I actually, because my partner, I got married, I was able to be a dependent under his.
Okay.
But
okay.
finally, this just, I want to say 2 years ago when we had our company retreat, actually, I was
Okay.
able to connect with my mom in New York City and get some paperwork figured out from when she immigrated in the early 70s so that I
Wow.
could get a visa that's specifically for people with Korean heritage who have parents or grandparents
cool.
who've given up citizenship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a really flexible visa. It's fantastic. And it also means I can take on a little bit of other work. Like I've taken on a little bit of voice acting work over here. And
Oh,
I
really? I
don't
didn't know
have
that.
to. Yeah.
Very
That's
cool.
pretty recent. And
Nice.
I don't have to worry about like trying to keep it under the table because I don't want to let the government know.
Right. It doesn't have to be weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you got a little bit more of a permanent situation going.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like that. Love that. And it's that's kind of neat too. That's like based on your family's history that you get to be there, and yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a few requirements. Like I think you have to prove just a little level of Korean, really, really basic stuff. But it also means that now that I figured that out with my mom's documents, my siblings can all apply if they want and
Yeah,
stay for
okay.
longer. But I mean, the tourist visa to Korea is pretty generous for U.S. citizens. It's like
Yeah.
90 days.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So you can spend a lot of time there if you want. I love
You
that.
can. All right. And
Love
then the next few categories are all just kind of slush funds as well. Home maintenance and upgrades, gifts, and then celebrations and holidays. And I have those broken out just because celebrations, like we tend to do like bigger things all at once. Like if it's, a July 4th, I don't know, a barbecue, that's on my brain because it's coming up. We want to be able to like get all the ingredients for the barbecue and then figure out like reimbursements from friends or whatever we need to do from that category instead of having it affect like gifts for family.
That's awesome. Okay, I got to ask because you mentioned July 4th. Do you do that? Like, do you celebrate Independence Day and like bring your Korean friends into that? And is that really fun?
Sometimes, yeah, it is really fun to like get people from different cultures. Like, because our friends are now from like, a bunch of different countries. One of our
Okay,
best friends
okay.
is like Australian and we're always
Oh, no way, that's
comparing
cool.
lingo and things like that. Yeah.
That's fun.
But it really varies. I feel like every year it's a little bit different. We
Right,
pretty
so
much
it's not
always
like a
celebrate
regular
Christmas
thing.
though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that'd be so interesting when you're, you got people, well, especially you, because you got, your partners from South Africa, you have friends from Australia. I mean, and I'm sure you got Korean friends too. So like, yeah, you got all sorts of things that you can share as far as these celebrations go. So that's pretty special. I had one friend that's told a story about how she was living in Korea. Actually, no, it wasn't in Korea. It was in a Southeast Asian country. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
But they were Americans living there, and they wanted to celebrate Independence Day, 4th of July with them, and they invited a bunch of people, and they made this like big cheesy casserole, right?
Okay.
One of their friends who was local was like in a lot in those countries like they don't eat cheese, like it's just not a thing, right? It's just like that. Is that right? Am I
I would say people eat a lot of cheese now in Korea, but most Asians are lactose intolerant, so
it's like probably a bad move. But like she came in and she just like burst into tears because she like wanted to eat it, but she just like thought it was so gross. And probably also, yeah, she probably couldn't eat it. So anyways, it was a funny story, but they were fine.
oh,
But
that's so funny.
but it was just a little bit of a, cultural sharing that like doesn't work.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. That's funny.
good
I
story.
feel like there's a lot of American culture that like all of our friends get because of American media. So like
right.
my partner, he's South African, but he loves hot dogs, like barbecue and hot dogs and things like that. Although barbecue like is a big part of their culture as well, but it's not called barbecue. It's braai. So
Okay.
gotta have, the braai with the wood grill and a proper setup, all day, everybody comes over. But so we've got these cultural similarities and overlaps, and then he also has the pictures in his head of what American culture is from like movies and TV.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, I
there's
mean, even here, like barbecue means something completely different. Like I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
And barbecue was just, brisket and ribs and things like that. And then I moved to Virginia and near North Carolina, and it's like it's just pulled pork. That's what that is. The barbecue is pulled pork with the barbecue sauce. So it's just, and that wasn't it at all in Texas. So it really depends on where you are, what these words mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought you were gonna say like just hot dogs and hamburgers, because that's what we would always have at like the summer church barbecue.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's
it.
another.
That's what I think.
That's another form of barbecue. Exactly. So it's just it's all these words mean many things. All right, so that's all the semi-annual. And so when you say semi-annual, you mean like not annual, but like just not every month. Is that kind of what you mean by that?
Yes. And that's honestly, I think I used semi just because it was like one of those weird ambiguous words. Like, because I think it's some of those categories, like
Some of
bank
them
fees,
are annual.
are kind of annual.
Yeah, it's like
just
annual,
like a
but,
catch-all. Yeah, catch-all.
yeah.
Like it's all gonna happen at some point in the year.
Or like you look at like celebrations as like you do celebrations and holidays, like you do, they're all annual, but they're multiple annual. So it's kind of like, yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
It's not a
I just
particular
love-
cadence.
I just love getting into the word use of like how you use category groups because it just shows so much about your brain and how it works. So that's good. Okay.
And that's probably a holdover from a long time ago. So if anybody has better language than semi-annual, feel free to suggest it in the comments.
I think it's great. I think it works great. So it's perfect.
All right. So then we have long-term savings goals and then quality of life goals. These are things that we sometimes regularly spend from. So like electronics replacement, if anything comes up with like, we need a new phone charger or headphones, something like that, that might come out of it. So it's like we're often replenishing that one. Investments too. It's like kind of for the long-term goal, but it's like something that we put money into monthly. And then house deposit, which in this case is just going to be key deposit. It's actually going to be for moving to a different apartment in Korea. And that requires a pretty big chunk of what they call a key deposit, which you just give to the landlord. And then the landlord usually invests that money. And that's how they kind of make their money from the system.
Oh,
so it might be like 10,000, 20,000.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. It can be pretty big.
So even though you're renting, you got to like basically put a down payment in there. Oh, that's super interesting. So that's a totally different system than what I'm used to.
And
Very different.
Is any of that returned when you leave?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is returned to you, but during that time, they're making all the interest on it.
Sure. Yes.
Right. And then you also pay monthly rent as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes you can negotiate.
So it's kind of like a deposit here, but it's a lot larger. is what it sounds like.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, basically, but like the first couple months deposit. But it's sometimes negotiable too. Like if you're willing to put down a bigger key deposit, you might lower your monthly rent.
Right, because they can invest it and get the difference. So
Got it.
super interesting. Okay, yeah, so it's actually a little more flexible sometimes because you can, yeah, if you have the cash, you could maybe get more cash flow out of
Sometimes.
it. Sometimes, yeah, it depends on the situation. Right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people would rather have that cash.
Yeah, I would think so.
Makes
sense. Yeah. Most people. Yeah.
Talk to us about the emergency fund. And I asked because a lot of times around YNAB, we say, hey, you don't need an emergency fund, right? Because, you're breaking it down into all these other specific categories. So
Yeah.
what's the reasoning here?
So this one for us is things like job loss or just a sudden change in circumstances. If we had to suddenly do a bunch of work on the house, or there was a flood, or really any unexplained emergency that isn't covered by something else. Like even if we had a medical emergency, we would probably pull from this category. And I try to aim for about 3 months expenses in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
for me,
so
it is that emergency fund that people tend to think of when they come to YNAB.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess the main thing is income loss, and then yeah, anything really, really big, right? That
Yeah.
would happen.
Yeah, the big stuff. And then sometimes even the small stuff, the like, we lost $100 cash somewhere, the physical cash is gone. Like we'll take it from there because it doesn't really fit anywhere else.
Yeah, I like
Right.
that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you got a moving category here.
Yep.
Move furnishings, renter insurance. Tell me
Yep.
about that. So are you looking to move like imminently, or are you just kind of preparing right now?
It's not imminent. We did actually think we were during COVID, we started applying for my partner's green card to the U.S. But
Oh,
because
right.
everything was backed up, it just became such a long process that we ended up moving to Seoul. He got a new job, and we kind of put down roots in the community. So we're still like pushing off that process. So this was going to be like an actual house deposit originally. But
Okay.
now we're just thinking we want a slightly larger space, slightly
Yeah.
maybe further
the cat.
out. Room for the cat. Room for all of our stuff because we like
Right.
we like Seoul fashion, very fashionable city. We like having a closet
Okay.
space. Yeah, it's all the things having to do with moving and getting new furniture and things like that. Because now that we don't have a car, I mean, we can rent a van and hire movers and stuff, but a lot of the stuff that we currently have is like a few years old. So we're going to need to replace some things.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of I like this. This whole group is kind of aspirational, exciting things in the future. So that's cool.
And all different time frames too. That's why I just kind of grouped it under long term.
Yeah, like the electronics is much closer, but then investments is obviously as far out as you go, right?
Yep.
And then the rest is kind of exciting things that are next. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for quality of life goals, these are, I would say, spent from more regularly. So vacation and travel is a big one for us. We love traveling. We love especially traveling for food. Big foodies.
Okay,
So
nice.
always have to have some money in there for like the next trip that we're planning, which I think we're going to try and go back to South Africa this year and see his family.
And all those various trips are run through the one category.
Now, that actually depends.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll have it broken out under, well, we'll get to it in a minute, but like a hidden group that's broken down by like accommodations and things like that. But then I'll tag the transactions with like some, I don't know, like New York City 2024, and then zip them all back into the vacation and travel category for recording purposes.
That's
Got
exactly
it.
what I do. Yeah, if I'm planning a specific trip, I'll have a separate category for it, and then literally just tag with in the memo hashtag whatever, and just delete the category, merge it with my travel category, and rest is history. That's how I do it. Yeah.
I like that. Actually, I probably could break it down more and then have the wild travel. So I have like a wild traveling group that we'll see later that sometimes gets used for like the things that I want to track more carefully. But I should probably look into like once I know which trips we're going on, breaking up those into categories.
Yeah. Well, actually,
like
there's a
that idea.
YNAB template for that, and I think we're going to do an episode
yeah.
just about the templates. And I'm going to use one of those travel templates for a beach trip we're going on, and I think it'll help with peace of mind a little bit. So because we always just ran it out of one category, and it's always like, do we have enough? We'll find out. It's kind of like hand wavy. I think having separate categories for everything is helpful. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm already at the point where like I have a note in the category notes field that's like breaks down accommodations and different things. So like, why not break it out?
Yeah, break it out. Make it simpler. Cool. All right. And personal development. Tell me about this. This is
Yes.
big for you. I know because
Yeah.
here at YNAB, like you lead the way in like just getting better at your job or as a person. Like you help us with that a lot. So tell me more about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that coming from you, especially because we did the mentorship, like we piloted the internal mentorship
did.
program that we're doing together. I do really care about like learning and growing personally and professionally. So I invest in books, in mental health. We also do, if we do counseling, that comes out of this category.
Okay.
Some subscriptions, even if for a while we were subscribed to like Skillshare and taking courses, that went under here. Yeah, it's a fun one. It's probably one of the ones that I think improves our quality of life the most, because it's hard to invest in those kinds of self-care pieces. Which we also have a self-care category, but that's more like physical self-care.
Yeah,
like massages.
I can see it. Like personal development's like your brain, like your self-care for your
Yes.
brain, and then the next one is like your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What's this big split question mark? Tell me about that.
Yeah,
you're
so-
thinking about splitting it up.
Exactly. I just for a while now, I've been thinking about like whether or not to split out like a self-care category that is just for like massages, and I don't know. My partner recently tried acupuncture. I'm still not there yet, but I am curious. So things like that. And then like fitness that has just like our gym memberships and things like that. But I haven't seen the need yet. So I might just take that out of the name. Maybe I'll do that after this.
All right. It's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, budget dates. Tell me about this. This is great.
Budget dates is exactly what it sounds like. When we have our kind of check-ins about where our money's going, how YNAB's doing, maybe covering some deeply overspent categories like dining out. That's kind of when we do it. We'll treat ourselves to like a cafe date, or if there's enough in the category, like a nice dinner, and then sit at like a cafe or sit at home and go through things.
I love that you have a category for this.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And is your partner as enthusiastic about YNAB as you are?
No.
But
No,
they're
no
willing
way.
to play along, right?
Yes. Yeah, they are. And like they've honestly come a long way towards realizing how important it is for my mental health, and also how much it really does give him the flexibility to do, whatever he wants with his free money, because we know everything's covered. So most of the spending that he does is from like kind of his group of categories. But he can always hop in and check on things if he wants. And he also knows that when we're doing our check-ins, that we're talking about like longer term stuff, shorter term stuff, it's all covered. I haven't gotten him to like regularly put in spending yet. Like he'll kind of
Okay.
just do it all at once. But because most of his stuff comes from those categories, it's usually okay.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how most partners are. Like one person's the nerdy person that does all the work
Yeah.
in YNAB, and the other person's just like, I have these 3 categories, and that's all I need to know about. And don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then grooming is what it sounds like. It's, like hair, nails, if we need to, I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If there's
Okay,
any
but
any
separate-
special events happening.
It's separate from self-care. So is it like how do
Yeah.
you determine that? Because like massages goes on self-care, but like the
Yes.
nails goes on grooming. So it's more like beauty, I guess. Was that what you say?
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, his barber visit, like, doesn't really fit under beauty. Well, it could
Right.
be. He's a very beautiful person. I'm not gonna dig myself a hole here, but
Beauty or
grooming
handsomeness? I don't know.
sounds better.
Yeah. I think so. I like that.
Yeah.
And then you have the
And-
cat now too, so you're just slot that right in there.
Yeah. Well, actually, the cat has her own group.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess cats don't really need to. They do it themselves. They know what they're doing. So
They do. They do. It's very easy. And then we have hobbies, which the emojis that I've put here are kind of the main ones, which are dance
Okay.
for me, which is I
Ooh.
really love partner dancing, going out like
Nice.
salsa dancing, swing dancing, and then gaming, which we both do, and then art, which he does. But I also have a little bit of a stationary addiction, so I'll sometimes
Okay.
grab from this one too.
Love that. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So do you and your partner go dancing together, or is that just your thing?
We've done it a few times, and I think he's open to doing more in the future. But I've been dancing for a while now. Like I was big into ballroom dance in college, and
Okay.
so I think it's a little intimidating to like go out together at this
Yeah,
point.
you kind of got to be on the same level to make
Yeah,
it,
like
make
we would
it
need to
work.
find lessons that we both feel comfortable with, that we can both enjoy. So that's like a future. We'll probably do that sometime.
I love swing dancing. It's
yeah?
always been a thing. I mean, I'm not like good at it, but I do like it.
It's so fun. It's so fun. And I love also that partner dancing. There's like a type of partner dance for every mood.
Yeah,
That's-
you're right.
There really is.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you get into the world of like ballroom with like the cha-cha-cha and the tango, the waltz, if you want to feel like a princess.
I love it. That's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of fun, just for fun.
We have just for fun. And these are the shared just for fun categories. So our main ways, I would say, of having fun, besides like the hobbies, which are kind of, we might not spend from the hobbies category every month, you know? But these ones, cafes, because we're almost always going to cafes to like meet friends. You know, you can't have people over in a teeny tiny apartment. So a lot of time is spent out of the house hanging out with people in Korea. And that's true for most young people. Cafes, alcohol, because we want to see that broken out apart from like
'cause
dining
it can
out
get expensive, I'm
and
sure.
cafes.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then dining out and entertainment. And entertainment's things like, you know, like movie tickets and concerts and stuff like that. Dining out, I would say, is our most overspent category.
It's very common.
Like most
It's the same.
consistently overspent. Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm,
sometimes
like,
we get
sitting
we
here-
pull in from other fun categories.
I'm sitting here on the 27th of May, and my dining out categories are not overspent, which is like a miracle. And I'm like wondering, is this going to be the month we don't overspend? I don't know. We'll see. There's still a few more days.
There's like some
Very
pending
rented.
transaction for a date night.
I know,
for
right?
that.
It's like coming at me in the back of the head.
I just
Exactly.
looked at my Reflect tab about a week ago and noticed that our eating out spending was greater than our grocery spending this month. That's
Oh,
probably
wow.
that's probably the first time ever that it's been that way, especially since we've had kids. And I no regrets. Like it has been fantastic because the boys have
That's great.
The boys have been picking up these shifts where they all work at the same time. And I'm like, I'm not gonna cook for just you and me. So let's just go
Right.
out somewhere. And we've been doing that. And it's been
Hey, good for you.
Oh man, we've
That's great.
loved it.
Okay.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like we tend to go back and forth. You know, like sometimes it's a month where there's just a lot of birthdays or things happening.
Yeah.
And so then we're kind of pulling from groceries to feed dining out. But then other times it's the opposite. Like actually during the pandemic, there was a lot of months where it was like we just were using lots of nice groceries or treating ourselves to like fruit that is imported because a lot of fruit gets imported here. So it's a little pricier.
Interesting, yeah.
Avocados.
Right. Yeah. That must be expensive. It's just
Yeah, it varies.
yeah. Yeah.
Cheaper than some places, but definitely more expensive than like where they're grown.
Right. Yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah. I'm sure there's a whole fruits. We could talk about the difference in prices of fruit for a while because that's a whole thing, right? That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Now with
It's
these shared categories, this is spending you do together, right? Like if you go out to lunch by yourself, you're not spending from the dining out category.
Right.
Got it.
These are pretty much when we go out together, or if we know it's specifically like going out with friends that are both of ours, but one of us just couldn't make it. Then it's kind of a gray area, but we'll tend to use these ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
And
And then
then
you got your individual categories here.
individual groups. So we have extra credit, which was an idea that I stole from Ben M, his sketchy advice series.
Yeah. Tell the people about that if they haven't seen that video.
Yeah. So in the video, it was an incentive to do things around the house. Chores in general, things that maybe you don't want to do. And the extra credit is a category where you just stash the same amount of money each month and you refill it back up if you've done stuff that's on your list of chores. You can move money to your free money category.
Okay. So you kind of reward yourself.
Yeah, reward yourself. But if you don't do you don't use it all up, it just refills to that same amount each month.
That's
So it's like incentivizes you to
it.
maximize, the stuff you're doing.
Okay. And do you just do it for chores, or do you do it for like going to the gym or anything like that?
Yeah, we just do it for chores right now. This is actually a more recent setup, a few months ago. So we're trialing it out, and I think it's definitely helped me vacuum more because that's one I don't love to do.
I love vacuuming. That's like my favorite thing.
Oh, really?
I've always taken the vacuuming task. Yeah, I don't know. It's very satisfying to me. It's like just
Okay.
I can do the lines and go run. Yeah, I don't know. It feels good to me. But Caitlin hates vacuuming, so it works out.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, I think vacuuming is awesome. Very satisfying.
We love it.
And actually, Ben, have you ever cleaned a vacuum? I just did that this weekend. Even more satisfying.
Well, my vacuum is like constantly clogging, so I have to clean it because I have to like clean it out constantly. Yeah, I think we need a new one.
Time to do a detailed clean. Lauren, has this turned into a competition at all between you and Brandon?
Not really. You're
not like, you took my drawer, now I don't get the money.
No, because there's enough stuff to go around. I mean, like we're both working full time, so it's there's more than enough in the categories. Like I don't think we've actually emptied these categories yet at any point.
Right.
Like just finding enough time to like vacuum, do laundry, even things that feel basic, but it just is sometimes a struggle.
Well, now you have the cat, so it's a whole...
And the cat, too.
You could add that. That's a whole... Clean a litter box and all that. You could add a whole other list of things there.
Reorder supplies. Yeah, that usually falls to me, reordering stuff. Grocery runs. I don't think actually that one might need to be put on the list. Oh, bathroom cleaning. Yeah, some of the bathroom cleaning. Like I think we've got it split out
key.
Even. Like just doing the counters in the sink is like its own $3 credit.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Like cleaning it's too big. Clean the bathroom. It's too big. Say like clean the toilet, clean the shower, clean the sink. These are all separate things. Yeah.
Exactly.
I do that with my kids because we they'll often clean a couple bathrooms and I'll split it out between them. Like you do the shower, you do this, and they fight over who gets to do the toilet, which I don't understand. Like apparently they let that is the number one. They want to clean the toilet. I'm like, why? I guess because it's I don't know. Maybe it's faster. I don't know. I would want to clean the. I know
it's so easy.
Yeah, but it's gross, man. Like I don't know. Ugh, I don't know. I guess it is easier. I don't know. It's easier in the shower. That's for sure. I hate cleaning the shower.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's the worst.
Yeah, everybody hates that. All right. This is riveting content.
Getting into the weeds here.
I love it. And then obviously we both have our free money categories, which we can use however we want. And then we also recently added travel categories for occasionally when we're doing travel. Like I recently took a trip to New Zealand with my sister. My partner didn't come along, so we decided, let's split these out. And I kind of treat these category groups as like freely amorphous, like it can move everything. Yeah, like we just put money into the free money category and then we can divvy it out into the other categories the way we want.
Yeah, that's good.
Travel. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
There we go.
All right.
And now we get to the kitty cat.
Kitty cat.
So far, I just have 2 categories for her, and that's been all right. Medical and supplies, and that
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we
20
haven't
weeks?
had her very long, and fingers crossed, she hasn't had any major like medical issues or other things happen. So
Cats are pretty chill most of the time. Most of the time.
she's very chatty. She's a calico, which is
really?
apparently like a thing. They're chatty cats, but yeah, she's
Love that.
lovely.
That's fun. Lots of meowing. That's good.
Yeah.
So this is one of the best changes that I've made recently to my plan is breaking out Ridge's category into multiple categories.
Oh.
Because I was just constantly overspending, and it was really frustrating. Like I didn't feel like I had a handle on what was going on with Ridge spending, my dog spending. But once I broke everything down, it just brought so much more clarity. And every single month I'm like, oh man, I love this so much more, and the overspending has been reduced greatly. So
That's
that
awesome.
was a
Did you
huge
find
change.
like a pattern, like what specifically was overspent, or was it just in general you weren't assigning enough?
I just wasn't assigning enough. I wasn't being realistic about what was actually going
interesting.
on. So yeah, now we just ended up, we're probably over assigning, but that's way better because I just don't stress about it.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when you break it out, that comes to light is that, oh, well, when you really lay it all out, it's like, well, I really do need more money for each of these individual things. And when you have it all in one, you're kind of guessing a little more. So.
Yeah, so I would say to anyone that's having a problem with a particular category, like, why can't I just dial this in? Try breaking it out. I think that'll help.
analyze it. Yeah, and like you were saying, Lauren, like you might discover there's actually just one problem area that I want to spend less on, or you might be like, actually, I love spending money on that, and I don't need to feel bad about it anymore. So
Exactly. Yeah. And then sometimes giving it its own category can elevate it to that status of like, this is a priority for me.
Yes.
So I like that part as well.
yeah.
And then
You got your giving.
we've got giving, which is basically just charitable giving, whether that's giving to somebody that approaches you on the street or to charities that we're funding, or like, monthly subscription type giving. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
You know
so
what I
got
mean?
kind of a mix. Yeah, you got a mix there.
Yeah.
So like you got your enough for the monthly stuff, and then it builds up whenever you want to do something random. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. And then the not so much fun stuff, the credit card payments, which I just, I keep them paid in full, always matching what's available to what I owe.
Yep.
Always
I mean,
good.
you got to because you're on the credit card team, of course. So, like, I mean, you got to have
to
that
lead
dialed in,
by
right?
example.
Now, I know you love traveling. So are you playing the credit card travel hacking game?
Not intensely, but we do use credit card rewards for travel. And actually, when we get into the multi-currency stuff, I'm sure I'm going to bring that up.
Okay.
Because we are pretty frequently using my American credit cards over here in South Korea.
Got it.
Okay. Oh, super interesting. Okay. Then you got some debt payments, student loans.
Got 3 more student loans that I'm paying down. They're pretty close to finished. I really think that I might be able to pay them off this year. So,
Hey, that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Okay.
yeah.
How would you describe the payoff process? Are you super aggressive? Are you paying the minimum, somewhere in between?
I just chose an amount that was a little over what all my minimums were, and I've been paying that amount, which is $300, for like a while since the forgiveness kind of process started. They said they were going to forgive the loans, and then it's like, well, okay, maybe not, and then
Right.
okay, but they're in deferment, so you're not incurring interest. So I'm just I've been whittling them down. I think I had 5 when I started this payoff process. I've been whittling them down, and then each time I pay one off, that amount goes towards the next one, that like the next highest interest. I think I just choose.
Cool.
Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
Man, how exciting. All right.
Yeah.
And then you got some like practical stuff here, like
Practical
reimbursement,
stuff.
work stuff. Yeah. Are you doing a lot of work travel? Because I mean, we travel a lot for work at YNAB, but you're a world away. So what's that look like for you? Do you
Not
ever
a
have to
lot.
miss anything, or do you just do it?
Oh, I mean, our people operations team is so good at keeping me involved in stuff. Like they've never made it an issue that I'm far away. Like they just
Nice.
budget for me to be there.
Love
So
it.
it's part of the plan. Yeah, and those are always great because it's an opportunity for me to tag on some time to see my family. Like if I, well, we recently we had a whole support team meetup in Austin, Texas, and so I got to stop by and see my siblings in Dallas. And
Nice.
it was great.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just came to mind because I saw work there and I was like, oh man, what's that like? Because I've had some of our coworkers who it's like we had one coworker for a while who lived in Argentina, and she was just like there'd be like a 2-day meetup, and she's like, it's gonna take me 2 days to get there. So
Oh,
she
yeah.
didn't cover that. So I don't know if you had anything like that ever, but yeah, I'm glad you get to come and make it work.
Yeah, like I've been to the annual. Well, it's not an annual retreat. It's the all company retreat.
We're doing like
And then
every
I've
2 years now. I think,
every
something like that.
2 years. Yeah, I think they're still figuring out
Yeah.
what the new cadence will be. And then
Yeah,
the
something like that.
support meetup, which we haven't had one of those in years.
Yeah, that was a big deal, man.
Yeah.
Y'all were unhinged. Like, we have a Slack channel called what was it
Quotes
like?
out of context.
Quotes out of context, and that was just firing the whole time y'all were there. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, I wish I was with y'all. Y'all seem like you're having a blast.
It was a blast. And like we've moved recently to having much more like interlaced teams. So it just made sense that we all need to be in the same space. And it
Yeah,
kind of
that
was, it
makes
had
sense.
like conference vibes, you know, because you could go to like sessions, and then in between we're doing work
There's
in
a
the
lot
queue.
of people now. Yeah,
Interesting.
just the support team's a big group. So
Yeah.
yeah, love that.
It's great. So yeah, reimbursements when we split things with friends and family, and then other reimbursement things like work go under there. Or if I'm working on like a side business with my friend, that goes under there. Now,
Nice.
I decided I wasn't going to share what's in our wish farm and our wish list just
That's fine.
because that feels, you know, a little bit more like personal and private.
Totally.
But also because we're not like working too hard on that. Like it's not
Yeah.
a big focus for us right now. And then
But you do have them, so you
we
do
do
the whole
have
wish
'em.
farm thing. Cool.
we do have them. I think it's something that I want to like bring back up in our next check-in do we need to add more things to the wish list? Because if we're not farming, it means that the wish list isn't incentivizing enough.
Right. You got to add some dreams there like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got your while traveling. So this is
Yes.
a one that's usually hidden. You talked about.
Yes. Yeah. So this category is usually hidden, but if I really want to like keep an eye on what we're spending during a trip, then I'll break out my plan into accommodations, transportation, food and drink, experiences, and then other stuff, souvenirs, whatever. And that's only happened on a couple of like big trips where we're gone for 2-3 weeks, and I really want to like make sure we're not like overspending on some fancy hotel, and we can afford to get like this nice massage or spa day. But it's been useful for those.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've broken out this beach trip we have coming up, and pretty much the similar kind of vibe, and I'm really excited about it because I think it might, especially for Caitlin, she gets nervous about the not having visibility in the numbers, and I usually I'm happy to be like, we'll figure it out, it'll be fine, but yeah, it was like when we were talking about using one of these templates and trying it, she was like, I want to use this one because I want to try and separate it out, and yeah, I don't want to say too much because we'll talk about it in another episode, but I think it'll be really good for peace of mind, so that's good.
That's awesome. Yeah, and especially because like you both want to have visibility, or Caitlin wants to check on, okay, how much do we spend on hotels?
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of keep it all visible to everybody. So
I felt like for a while something needs to change with our travel category. Every month I look at that number and I'm like, is that enough for the vacation in August? And I just don't know. But
Right.
I just haven't done anything about it. So Ben, use that template and tell me how it
Yeah.
goes. Show me how it goes and inspire me to do something different in my own
yeah, it
plan.
should be good. Should be interesting. Okay, so that's all
Love it.
your categories. Anything else you want to say about categories or processes? I mean, we got to talk about multi-currency a little bit, but besides that,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's pretty standard. We don't make changes that often to the category setup. So Yeah,
What about like
that's what it
reconciling?
is.
Like, are you like an everyday girl or once a week person, or like what's it look like for you? What's your cadence?
It's
there?
about, honestly, it's probably not as often as I want to be doing it, but it's generally when we have those dates and like check-ins. So I'll make sure that everything's reconciled before that. So it might be like once a month or twice a month.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, cool.
Yeah.
All right,
And that's
let's-
because we have a decent cash margin right now. You know, I'm not like
Right.
too worried about things aren't super
Yeah.
tight. If it was, I'd probably be reconciling more.
Be a little more close. Yeah, I like that. Okay. All right. Should we talk multi-currency? Because I think
Yeah.
we should lay the groundwork of like, what do we normally suggest people do if they're
Right.
dealing
Yes.
with multiple currencies and
Right.
whatnot? And then how do you break all the rules, Lawrence?
Yeah. So, what is the YNAB recommended way to handling multiple currencies?
Right. So the YNAB recommended way of handling multiple currencies is to have a different plan set up for each currency. So like if you use USD and euros, you would have a USD plan and you would have a euros plan. And then those things are separate. You know, the different accounts that live in those currencies live in those separate plans. And if you make an exchange through currencies, you would have like an outflow through a currency exchange category in one plan, and then an inflow that's just new income in the other plan. So it is really
Right.
simple. And I love that like we can offer that to someone who is kind of living, you know, maybe living in two places or half the year they're with family, or you know, there's all sorts of reasons that someone might need to use that. For myself, I actually have well, I should preface this by saying I thought when I moved to Korea that I would be here for like a year and then move back.
Right.
So that was part of the thinking behind this. But I
Okay.
actually I use the exchange rate and transfer everything into dollars.
Okay. Okay. Because
So all of my
and you're
yeah.
unique because you get paid in dollars. So there's that.
I get paid in dollars.
Right.
My partner gets paid in Korean won.
Uh-huh.
A lot of our spending is in Korean won, but we use US credit cards for a lot of spending. So like if something's above, you know, 10,000 won, which is maybe 750 USD, well, roughly, the exchange rate fluctuates. But we'll use the American credit card for that so we can get rewards. It's like, you know, 2% cash back on 750. It's like it adds up, right?
Yep.
Right.
But that means that I don't want to have a cafes category in Korean won and a cafes category in USD.
Yeah. It's a
I
lot to
just want
manage.
it all to live together. And I want all of our cash assets to be in one place as well, because I don't think of them as split. So
Right.
all of our cash assets that are in Korean won are reconciled and included in USD in my singular plan. So
Okay.
every time I reconcile, I'll actually reconcile to a slightly lower balance than the exchange rate actually tells me, like the app or Google tells me, just so
Okay.
I know that if it fluctuates a little, we've got wiggle room.
So when you enter the transactions, like, are you doing a calculation every time when you're spending one?
I'm opening a calculator app, but the nice thing is when
Wow.
I'm spending on a credit card, it just comes through in USD
Okay.
because the bank does the exchange rate for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. So most of the time it'll do the exchange rate for you. It's just, I guess when you use cash, is that when you need to do
When
the
we use
conversion?
cash or when we use our local accounts. Yeah.
Right. Because those aren't connected.
Yep.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay. How much does the exchange rate change? Like, is it just like you have to like look it up every day if you have to make these things, or is it just
I mean,
you have like a number you go by?
I have an exchange rate app that I use, which is pretty easy.
Okay.
Or if I'm, you know, doing it on my computer, I'll just use Google and have it open in a separate window and type in, you know, okay, what's 4,500 won in USD. But it's gone up and down over the years. Let's say that.
I'm sure it has. Yeah.
There have been big dips there, but because I do keep a bit of
I'm sure right
margin.
now it's probably absolutely wild. I mean, like
It's-
with all the
Yeah.
world politics going on, I'm sure it's just all over
Yep.
the place. Yeah.
It's definitely changing. But because I leave that margin by reconciling our Korean accounts to a slightly lower than the actual exchange rate amount, I don't have to pay too much attention to that.
Okay.
That
So-
makes sense.
I'll go in and like when we do our check-ins, if there is a big change like happened a couple times in the last few years, and like suddenly our accounts are worth much less, then I just have to make a balance adjustment, and that doesn't feel so great. But at least it's keeping us honest, and like we know that those assets just aren't worth as much anymore.
Right, right. That's interesting. Yeah, so I'm sure you probably just have a sense for it at this point. Like you'd probably you just know how much you can probably think in both currencies easily. And then because you've been doing it for 8 years. That's a long time. So are you entering transactions manually, or like yourself, like at the point of sale? Okay, so you are. So you're doing that calculation like right there. So it's just basically just entering transactions takes a little more work for you.
Yeah,
because
maybe
if you're spending in one.
10 seconds more. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's not really that big a deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, you know, a lot of the things are roughly the same cost. So it's like if it's 5,001, I kind of just know how much it's been lately. And also if I don't put in like a bunch of just small transactions, which is what goes on our local cards, is usually just small transactions. Right. And if I don't do a bunch of them, I'll just let them, I've got like, I get texts from the bank and I'll just go through those and enter them all at once. Okay. And yeah, it takes me maybe a little extra time each month, but it means that my plan gets to be all together.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah. So it's more complicated in that you have to do this exchange, but it's a lot less complicated in that you don't have to switch between plans and you have like two different categories and this honestly
works because I can't link my Korean accounts for direct import anyways. Right. So like I wouldn't be able to bring in those balances directly from the bank. So I mean,
so if you're gonna do this, one of the currencies, like I guess the secondary currencies, maybe the way you think of it, just can't be. It can't be. You can't have direct import on it. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah. No, you just can't link them. Yeah. That makes sense. It would create chaos.
Okay. Well, 2 different plans is fine, guys, or multiple plans is fine. But
and it works so well for so many people.
And I was going to say, for a brand new YNABer who's still learning the ins and outs of the software, learning the method, that's what you're going to recommend, right? That seems the most straightforward is having the 2 separate plans or the multiple separate plans.
Oh yeah, it's the only couple of times that I've actually recommended my own method to someone like in the queue in answering a YNABer's question. It's been something really specific. It's like, oh, I'm going to be traveling for a month and I'm going to be using US credit cards over there, but also some like cash and things like that. And I'm like, well, you know, you could just keep it in your plan, maybe have like a category group for it. And then when you exchange cash, like just put that in what it costs in USD and then not track what you spend the cash on. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah. I didn't even think about, because I haven't done a lot of international travel, so I didn't even think about if you use a credit card, it does the exchange rate for you. So most of it's taken care of. Yeah, it's super interesting. Okay. So it's not that complicated. I was just like expecting you to be like, all right, sit down. This is going to be a whole thing. But it's actually pretty simple. Just a little math and get it in there. And then when you reconcile, you adjust.
Yeah, you got to be willing to make adjustments, and you got to be willing to do the extra math step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I'm curious. I'm looking at the approved apps for our API.
Yeah.
And I see that there is a one for multi-currency, for having multiple currencies in one plan. Have you tried that? Do you ever recommend that?
I have definitely recommended our API to people who just like, they're not jiving with the separate currencies explanation. They're just like, no, this will never work for me. I hate it. But I haven't used the app myself. I haven't gone and set up that third party system. I think partially because I know that my system's been working for so long, and partially because I know that like some of my accounts are linked for direct import, the American ones, and then some aren't. So I really should set aside time to check it out at some point.
Yeah, maybe I think that's how it works. I think it just does a currency calculation for you, but
okay.
but I don't know. I've never used it, obviously. So
Yeah.
maybe
The
in the
world of
comments if you've used
exchange
it.
rates is just so crazy. Like
I
it's
know,
just
but
like the companies
endless.
that do it, they have to invest so much time and technology into like keeping it up to date. So when people ask sometimes, like, why can't YNAB do this? I'm like, it would be a really
Yeah.
huge undertaking.
Yeah, it's a lot to make it happen perfectly for sure. So
Yeah.
and it's just
And, like,
another layer of complexity. Yeah, that could break all the
Even
time.
going from like one currency to the other and like factoring in fees and things like that, like the exchange rate can be different in two different directions. So it's like,
Right.
how
Yeah,
do you
or
then
just different.
decide?
Yeah, it depends on where you're exchanging the money to. Like they'll have
Mm-hmm.
different exchange rates, So yeah, it's not it's messy. It gets complicated.
It gets complicated. The one time that I did this, I used my method on a trip and actually tried to enter all of the cash transactions in USD was in Vietnam, and I don't think it was worth it. So I should have just entered the ATM withdrawal and then not tracked the cash.
Well, that's a whole other layer because you're doing a lot of international travel. Like you went to New Zealand, like you have a whole other currency. So like, I guess
Yeah.
you just handle that by doing what you suggest, right? Like just if you take out cash, you just treat it as one. You don't track it. Is that how you handle it most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time, and the other times I'm just using my American cards. I think that is a pretty privileged situation because mine
Right. Yeah, it's a little US
work.
privilege
They're
for sure.
accepted almost everywhere, and the exchange rates are decent for me most places. So, but if you have the option, that's a nice option if you're traveling abroad.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm glad we got into that because that's super interesting.
Yeah, and
All right.
I'm with you, Ben. I'm like, oh, that was it. That wasn't that bad. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure for me to do it right now would take a big lift, but since you've been doing it for so long, it's just like you're like, yeah, it's like 10 extra seconds. It's not a big deal. Yeah. It's chill for you. So
All right. Well, what other YNAB routines do you want to share with us? I mean, what does it look like daily, weekly, monthly? What does payday look like for you?
Yeah. Well, payday, usually I just open YNAB and then there's a big green amount at the top and I'm like, oh, it was payday.
yay.
I forgot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
And I am a assign money into a future month person. So
Okay.
I didn't have to switch from using like a next month's category. I've just been always, whenever a paycheck comes in, it goes towards I have a focus view that is assigned first. Like
Oh, interesting.
all of our
Okay.
top priorities are under that focus view. So I'll
I like
switch to
that.
that. And then if all of that is funded and then we still have some extra income, then I'll break it out and kind of do some of the long-term savings that aren't as urgent. But like I
like
know
that, yeah.
I like having that focus view because it tells me even in the minimum months, like because our income is a little bit variable, even in those minimum months, like we can cover these priorities.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's just filter it out basically. So you have what's most important and then you can go from there. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then daily, weekly, and monthly. Daily is really just entering things. If I know that something's coming up and I'm like, oop, I don't have enough money for that, I'll move money for it. Try to do that before overspending. Don't always do that. So weekly is probably going in, trying to cover overspent categories, figuring out, okay, what's coming up? Is there anything that like I should move money between accounts? Monthly is around like monthly or maybe a little more than monthly is when I'm reconciling, making sure all the account balances and all the transactions are in there. And things are like, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And then I'll sometimes use that opportunity as well to decide if I want to move things from checking to savings or between the currencies.
Right.
Got
right.
it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you wanted to say? I feel like we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah. I mean, I even if I moved someplace where all of my accounts didn't work, I think I would still be using YNAB with this system. So
Right.
I am very grateful for how much it's helped me and my partner and like my family as well. You know, my partner, my parents, and then my siblings too. Most of them are
Nice.
using YNAB. It's nice to have that shared language and that shared understanding of like, okay, I'm going to have to check this objective third-party plan before I say yes to meeting up for this trip or anything like that. And it gives us also the flexibility to, when stuff comes up, like my, parents' anniversary or a big, birthday on one side, that we can then talk together about what that looks like for each of us.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. Anything else you want to say, Ernie?
No, I just want to thank Lauren. I feel like I know you better going through your categories and inside look into your life, your values, your priorities. So thank you for sharing those. And the multi-currency routines aspect was super interesting as well. So it was great having you on.
Yeah,
Thanks so much. I had fun.
Good. All right. We'll see you later.
Yeah. See you around.
All right. Happy wine-nabbing, folks. We'll see you in a couple weeks.